right, so graphing. So make sure you do a rough sketch. So here, this guy, when you graph him, you get linear. So just check your answers here. If you have to, yeah. To go back to standard. Which number are you on? Make sure you're zoom 6. So. Okay. Okay. So zoom 6 to make sure everything's back to standard. That guy was doing a stretch. Yeah. This guy. Okay.
How do you get the character to the 2 with the little x on the corner?
This one? Oh, if you have 2 to the power of x, it's 2 and then hat x. Yeah. Okay, x squared minus 3. Graph. One over x squared. Y equals 1 over x squared. Now, yeah. So did you type it in like this? 1 over x squared? So it looks like this. It's neither. X squared plus x plus 1. So again, it gives me a u. So u is quadratic. Y equals 4x. Graph that, and it's a line. So line is linear. Now, how do you type the next guy in? Some of you are having issues. 2 to the power of x. Yeah, and then graph that. Nope. That looks like that. So it looks like that. So neither. 2/3 x, negative 2/3 x minus 2. It's going to be a line. Remember that formula, mx plus b? Nope. Okay. So line, linear. Y equals x should be linear as well. Yeah, a line right through like 45 degrees. Right to the center. So y equals x, so linear again. Y equals x squared. Quadratic. I'm hoping you're finding a pattern here. Squared thing. That's kind of what we were hoping for. Quadratic. And last, y equals 8x cubed minus x squared. Neither. Yeah. It looks like this. Neither. Okay, so we've already did this part B where we classified each one. Did you write down what each one was? So looking at each equation, let's look at all the quadratics. So let's look at each equation that's a quadratic. Y equals negative 2x squared was here. Fourth one, the sixth one, which else? The second last one. So looking at all the equations, what do they have in common? They all have an x squared. The very last one has an x squared, but there's an x cubed. So remember, we classify it by the highest power, right? So the last guy actually would be at degree 3, which is why this is the shape of a cubic. So looking at all these, the highest power of x is always 2. They all have degree 2, and that makes a quadratic. So how can you tell from the equations? They are degree 2. Right? We have an x squared. and that's the highest power in each. Okay, so just a little review. The next page is pretty quick. It says a quadratic function is a function that can be written in the following form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and that's on your formula sheet. Or in y equals, so f of x equals and y. Remember, those just functional notation. It's the same thing. Y and f of x are the same thing. Just means y. Just means y. Yeah, so that's what we know what a quadratic function is, right? It's going to be in that form. It has degree 2. It's ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are numbers. So just without using our calculators, can we look at this and see if it's a quadratic or not? So is the first guy a quadratic? Yeah, how do we know? What's squared? The x, the highest, so it's degree of 2. How about the next guy? Is that going to be a quadratic? No, it's not. It's neither. Why? What's the degree of this function? 5. The highest power is 5. We want the highest power to be 2. And next one is the highest power of the x2. Yeah, it's degree 2, so it's quadratic. Okay, so number 2, by looking at it also, you should be able to tell if it's a quadratic. So with the first guy, it's a circle, not a quadratic, so it's not a quadratic. Oh, it just says which one. So which one? B has a U, and D. Now the question, is C a quadratic? Well, it's not a function, yeah, but it's also not a quadratic because quadratics are only up and down, open up and down, not to the left and right. Okay? Yeah, so exactly. So the B and D are quadratics. Okay? So the homework for this assignment is actually all 1 to 11, but we're going to carry on to the next lesson. And tomorrow, 1 to 10 on yours. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. And so, but tomorrow's going to be a work period. So we're going to carry on to lesson 2.